Around the year 1300 in Spain, there was a monk at a small Benedictine monastery who lost his faith and was going through the motions of his religious duties without truly believing. One winter morning, because of the cold and snow, the priest expected nobody to come to Mass. He was surprised when a humble farmer from a nearby village arrived who wanted to attend Mass even in the terrible weather. The priest harshly scolded him for being reckless enough to journey far during a snowstorm for a bit of bread and wine. Tired and distracted, the priest began the Mass in a rushed manner. At the moment of consecration, the bread in his hands changed to real flesh, with drops of blood forming on it, while the wine in the chalice turned into blood. Upon seeing this visible miracle, the priest's disbelief was finally cured, and the humble farmer's faith was rewarded. They told the locals what happened, and they were convinced not only because of the relics of the miracle, but also because they noticed something remarkable about the Holy Mother's statue at church. Even though prior to that it never appeared that way, the statue seemed to be slightly tilted toward the altar. The explanation, they reasoned, was so she might have a better view of the miracle. Word quickly spread through Europe as pilgrims passing through learned of the miracle and shared news of it upon their return home. The village became a much anticipated stop as many pilgrims came to see it for themselves. At a later time in 1486, on her way to venerate the tomb of St. James, Queen Isabella visited the village. She was moved by the story and wished to give greater honor to the relics of the miracle by moving them to a more accessible location than the little monastery high in the mountains. But when it was time to leave, her horses wouldn't move. She regarded this as a sign from God and returned the relics to the monastery. The royal family then arranged for the Benedictine monks to take over the monastery so the monarchy would protect it. A year later, the church was officially confirmed to hold this miracle by the Pope. Father Elias is credited for being the principal catalyst for the revival of the pilgrimage routes that leads to the shrine of St. James. Most of the pilgrims who take these routes to visit St. James's shrine usually stop by the church to honor the relics of the miracle. After many years of studying and publishing on the history of the pilgrimage, he worked tirelessly to revive the practice. He even painted yellow arrows when he personally traveled along the routes to indicate the way to the final destination of the pilgrimage. The priest also restored the church where the miracle occurred. He and the excavators found the meager foundations of the original church, which fell into ruin after the monks were expelled in 1853 by an anti-clerical government. Between 1965 and 1971, the church was built from the ground up again. What remains of the original is only the baptismal font and the relics of the miracle. Father Elias was buried at the foot of the altar in the chapel to the left of the main sanctuary. The chapel to the right of the sanctuary, enshrined above the tabernacle, holds the relics of the miracle. According to local tradition, the two tombs on the right belong to the bodies of the farmer and the priest. Next to these tombs is the statue of Mother Mary, inclined towards the altar and known as the Virgin of the Miracle. This powerful story reminds us of the reality and presence of Jesus Christ in the Eucharist. God's grace is always active and powerful and capable of awakening our hearts to the truth. The miracle serves as evidence of His divine love and mercy and invites us to place greater trust in the Eucharist as His true body and blood and to stay firm in our devotion, trusting that God is always present, especially when we approach Him with sincere faith and humility.